Right now, as you are listening to this, you feel a distinct, terrifying detachment. You look at your family, people you have loved for years, and they seem distant. Not emotionally distant, but physically far away, as if you are watching them through a pane of thick glass. You look at your job, the career you spent a decade building, and it feels like a set piece from a play you no longer want to act in. You look at your own hands. Do it now. Look at your hand. It doesn't look like physical matter. It looks rendered, fake, thin. You feel like a ghost haunting your own life, screaming in a soundproof room, wondering why the world has suddenly lost its texture. You are scared. You are silently carrying the terrifying thought that you are broken. You worry that you have manifested a void, or worse, that you are sliding into a permanent state of apathy where nothing will ever matter again. Listen to me closely. You are not having a mental breakdown. You are not dissociating. You are not depressed. You are experiencing the holographic flush. Your reality is not a solid, fixed state. It is a simulation of consciousness, a data stream processing information at a specific rate, and just like a high-performance computer needs to violently clear its cache and dump temporary files before a major operating system update, your consciousness is currently de-rendering your old timeline to free up bandwidth for the new one. The numbness you feel isn't a lack of emotion. It is the necessary pause before the reboot. The void you are standing in is not empty space. It is a construction zone that has been cleared of debris. You have been begging the universe for a change. You have been asking for a new life. This glitch, this feeling of the world dissolving around you, is the receipt that the request was processed. This is the signal you see right before the quantum shift collapses reality. To understand why you feel like you are losing your mind, we have to stop looking at spirituality as magic and start looking at it as physics. Specifically, information theory. There is a concept in computing related to Moore's law and the limit of processing power. Every system, whether it is a laptop, a server, or a human consciousness, has a computational limit. It has a maximum amount of data it can render in real time. Consider a massive open-world video game. When the game engine tries to load a map that is too large or too detailed for the processor to handle, what happens? The system generates render latency. The edges of the world get blurry. The textures on the buildings fail to load, appearing smooth and fake. The frame rate drops. The characters start to move robotically. Why does this happen? Is the game broken? No, the game is buffering. The system has realized that the new map is too big for the old memory allocation. It has to divert power from the visual display to the background loading process. Apply this to your life. For years, you have been operating on a specific timeline, with a specific identity, running on a specific emotional operating system. But recently, you began doing the work. You raised your standards. You expanded your vision. You demanded more abundance, more love, more truth. You essentially requested a 4K resolution life while running on a 1080p graphic card. Your life has expanded beyond the memory limits of your old identity. The blurriness you see, the fake look of your surroundings, is not a defect. It is proof of expansion. You are experiencing render latency because your consciousness is downloading a file so massive, your new timeline, that it has to temporarily stop rendering the details of your old reality. You are not losing touch with reality. You are withdrawing bandwidth from a simulation you have outgrown. I know how visceral this feels. I know the specific texture of this pain because it is designed to be confusing. You sit in meetings at work, watching your boss's mouth move, and you feel like an alien observer sent to study a primitive species. You understand the words, but they carry no weight. They feel like background noise. You walk into arguments that used to trigger you deeply. Maybe it's a partner trying to start a fight, or a family member guilting you. 6 months ago, you would have reacted. You would have defended yourself, cried, or yelled. But now it feels like watching bad acting in a low-budget movie. You see the script. You see the mechanics of their ego. But you feel nothing. And that is the terrifying part, isn't it? The silence. You push against the wall of your emotions, trying to find anger, sadness, or joy. But the wall doesn't budge. You feel like you have been sedated. You worry that you have spiritually bypassed yourself into a coma. You think, I should be happy, I should be grateful, why am I dead inside? You are tired, deeply tired. A fatigue that sleep does not fix. This isn't failure, this is physics. This is system standby mode. When you perform a firmware update on your phone, the screen goes black. The functions stop. You cannot make calls, you cannot check messages. The device appears dead. But inside, the processor is running at maximum heat, rewriting the core code of the device. If you tried to force the phone to make a call during that update, you would corrupt the drive. You are trying to force yourself to feel normal during a firmware update of the soul. You are trying to drag the old emotional reactions, the stress, the drama, the validation seeking, into the new operating system. And because those files are incompatible with the new version of you, the system blocks them. That is the numbness. It is a firewall protecting your new code from your old viruses. Think of it like this. Visualize a high-end video game loading a completely new level. You are leaving the level 1 map, your past struggles, your scarcity mindset, your toxic relationships, and moving to level 10. The game engine cannot hold the assets of level 1 and level 10 in the random access memory RAM at the same time. It lacks the capacity. So, what does the engine do? It dumps the assets. The trees of the old world? Deleted. The buildings? Deleted. The NPCs, non-player characters, of your old life. They turn into wireframes, stripping away their texture and color. Then they vanish. For a moment there is just black space, a loading screen, a cursor blinking in the dark. That is where you are right now. The old assets are your current problems. They feel less real because they are being deleted. The wireframes are your detachment, seeing the structure of things without the emotional color. The black space is your current void. Most people panic here. They see the black screen and think, blue screen of death. They think the system has crashed. They start mashing buttons, trying to frantically manifest their way out of the void, trying to force themselves to care about things that no longer matter. But you're going to do something different. You're going to recognize the black screen for what it is. System upgrade complete. You are in the buffer zone. The reality you knew has de-reset, and the new reality hasn't finished rendering yet. This gap is not a mistake. It is the most powerful position in the simulation. It is the point of zero latency. If you have felt this thinness in reality, if you have looked at your life and felt like you were watching a movie you didn't write, then you are already in the process. The download has started. Do not interrupt the connection. If you are ready to stop fearing the silence and start the install, click like on this video to signal to the algorithm and the universe that you are ready for the upgrade. Let's install the new architecture. We need to strip away the mysticism for a moment and look at the mechanics. You are not experiencing a spiritual crisis. You are experiencing a data processing event. To understand why your reality feels like it is thinning out, why the world looks like a low-resolution render, we have to go back to 1989 to a blackboard at Princeton University. There stood John Archibald Wheeler, one of the giants of theoretical physics, the man who popularized the term black hole. He wrote 3 words on that board that terrify materialists to this day. It from bit. This is the bedrock of what we are discussing. Wheeler wasn't talking about philosophy. He was talking about hard physics. It from bit suggests that every particle, every field of force, even the space-time continuum itself derives its function, its meaning, its very existence entirely from binary choices. Bits, yes or no, on or off. Think of it like this. When you look at a 4K image on your screen, you see a mountain, but the computer does not see a mountain. The computer sees a stream of information, zeros and ones. The mountain, comes from the bit, the code. Wheeler proposed that the universe is a participatory system. Reality is not a solid stage that was built before you arrived. Reality is a series of answers to yes-no questions posed by your consciousness. You ask a question, the universe processes the data, and it renders a physical result. So, what happens when you stop asking the old questions? This is exactly where you are right now. This is the source of the fog. For years, your identity, the character you have been playing, has been asking the universe specific questions. Am I safe? Do they like me? Will I survive this job? The universe, being a faithful operating system, took those bits of data and rendered a reality to match them. It rendered the stress, the drama, the relationships, and the environment. It rendered the it from your bit. But you have changed. Somewhere deep in your kernel, you stopped caring about the old game. You stopped asking the old questions. You stopped inputting the data for survival mode or people-pleasing. And because the universe is efficient, it stopped rendering the answers. That is why you're experiencing derealization. It is not a malfunction. It is the cessation of unnecessary data processing. You are no longer feeding the bit stream required to keep the illusion of your old life solid. You look at your job and it feels fake because you are no longer projecting the energy to make it real. You look at your old friends and they feel like cardboard cutouts because you are no longer running the social validation script that fleshed them out. You are withdrawing your processing power, the lag you feel, the sense that the world is a simulation. It is tangible proof that Wheeler was right. You are seeing the wireframe because the texture maps have been uninstalled. This brings us to the core diagnosis. We need to give this state a name that commands respect, not fear. You are currently undergoing a holographic flush. This is a technical term for what happens when a consciousness system reaches its storage limit and initiates a total purge of outdated cache files to prevent a system crash. The holographic flush is the mechanism of safety. It is the cleaning of the slate. And it has 3 distinct signatures that you need to recognize immediately, or you will mistake them for mental decline. The first signature is de-rendering. This is the visual and emotional flattening of your world. Objects lose their weight. Problems that used to keep you awake at night now feel distant, like they are happening to someone else in a movie you aren't really watching. You might be sitting in a high-stakes meeting, or in the middle of a heated argument with a partner, and suddenly the volume drops. You look at them, and you see the script. You see the mechanics of their ego. You don't feel anger. You feel a clinical, detached curiosity. Oh, that's just a loop, you think. This isn't sociopathy. This is your consciousness reclaiming bandwidth. It is refusing to spend energy rendering a drama that is no longer compatible with your new frequency. The second signature is latency. Time is acting strange for you. You have days that feel like seconds and hours that feel like weeks. You walk into a room and forget why you were there, not because you have amnesia, but because the timeline skipped. In computing, latency happens when the processor is busy with a massive background task, like installing a new operating system, so the user interface lags. Your interface is lagging. Your daily life feels choppy because 90% of your energy is currently routed to the back end, rewriting your core code. You are operating on 10% RAM in the physical world. Of course you feel slow. You are rebuilding the engine while driving the car. The third signature is isolation or server disconnect. You've noticed a specific relationship turn cold overnight. No fight, no explosion, just silence. The text messages stop coming. The invitations dry up. It feels like you are screaming in a soundproof room. This is the system protecting the update. When a server goes down for maintenance, it kicks all the users off. It puts up an under construction wall. You are in maintenance mode. The universe has deliberately severed your connections to anyone who would interrupt the data transfer. You aren't lonely. You are sequestered. Now here is the critical failure point. This is where most people break the machine. You feel this emptiness, this lack of bit stream, and you panic. You have been trained by psychology and society to view numbness as a symptom of depression. You search online for derealization, spiritual awakening, and you get mixed results. Half of them telling you to ground yourself, the other half telling you to see a doctor, so you try to fix it. And this is dangerous. There are 2 ways people try to fix the holographic flush, and both of them lead to a system crash. The first method is forced gratitude. This is the spiritual bypass. You feel empty, so you tell yourself, I should be happy. I have a roof over my head. I need to raise my vibration. You try to force an emotional output. Think about what you're doing technically. Your hard drive is currently in the middle of a format disk operation. It is wiping the data to make space for the new version of you. While it is wiping, you are frantically trying to write new files to it. You are trying to save gratitude exe onto a disk that is currently deleting everything. What happens when you try to write data to a drive that is formatting? You get a corruption error. In your body, this manifests as severe anxiety. You are creating friction against the purge. You are trying to feel something when the system demands you feel nothing. The anxiety isn't the problem. The anxiety is the heat generated by your resistance to the void. You are overheating the processor by running programs during a reboot. The second method of failure is manic manifesting. You feel the ground beneath you disappearing, the derealization, and you panic that you are losing control of your future. So you double down. You start scripting, visualizing, affirming, trying to build your dream life with aggressive intensity. I need to manifest the money now. I need the partner now. But look at the architecture. You are trying to install high-performance software, your dream reality, onto an operating system that hasn't finished installing yet. You cannot run Quantum Wealth 5.0 on an undefined DOS prompt. When you try to manifest from within the holographic flush, you create distorted, glitchy versions of your desires. You manifest the partner, but they come with all the old trauma loops. You manifest the job, but it burns you out in a week. Why? Because you didn't wait for the upgrade to finish. You tried to build a skyscraper on wet cement. This leads to the blue screen of death, total exhaustion, bed rot, the inability to move. This is your system putting you into a forced coma because you refuse to go into standby mode voluntarily. We need to completely change your paradigm regarding this phenomenon. You must stop viewing this as a defect. If you were a computer engineer and you saw a screen go black with a blinking cursor, you wouldn't smash the monitor. You wouldn't scream that the computer is depressed. You would lean back, sip your coffee and say, "Good, it's rebooting." You are looking for derealization, spiritual awakening answers, because your intuition knows this is a threshold, not a dead end. The medical model calls this dissociation. But if we look at this through the lens of simulation theory, you are not dissociating from reality. You are withdrawing bandwidth from a simulation you have outgrown. There is a massive difference between losing your mind and clearing your cache. When you clear the cache on your browser, for a moment, the websites load slower. The history is gone. The cookies are deleted. The computer doesn't know who you are. You have to log in again. You are currently in that moment between the clear and the login. You are a stranger to yourself because the you that existed is gone, and the you that is coming hasn't logged in yet. The emptiness you feel is functional. It is not a void of nothingness. It is a void of potentiality. In information theory, you need empty space to encode new information. If a hard drive is 100% full, it cannot accept a single new byte of data. You have been asking for a new life. You have been asking for the millions, the love, the purpose. Those are massive files, terabytes of data. Where did you expect the universe to put them? You were full. You were full of your old identity, your old traumas, your old predictable reactions. The holographic flush is the answer to your prayer. It is brutally wiping the drive to create the free space required for the download you requested. The numbness is the evidence that the space has been created. So the intellectual shift you must make right now is this. Do not judge the blank screen. The blank screen is the only place where a new code can be written. If you can stop fighting the numbness, if you can stop trying to force the old reality to render, you will move through this flush in days rather than years. You are not broken. You are simply offline for maintenance. And what comes online after the reboot is worth the silence. We have arrived at the fulcrum of the entire operation. Up until this second, you have viewed your detachment, your numbness, and this pervasive sense of unreality as a defect. You have been treating it like a blue screen of death, a critical error signaling that your mind is crashing. But this is where we flip the architecture. We need to look at the mechanics of the simulation itself. In high-performance computing, in video game design, and in quantum mechanics, there is a fundamental rule. Efficiency is God. A system does not render what is not being observed. Think about a massive open-world video game. When your character is looking north, the system does not waste processing power drawing the mountains to the south. The south does not exist. It is data sitting in the dark waiting to be called upon. It is in a state of potential, not actualization. Now, apply this to your life. You have been conditioned to believe that you must be online, reactive, and emotional 24/7. You believe that if you aren't feeling deep passion or deep pain, you are spiritually dead. That is the civilian perspective. The system administrator perspective is different. The numbness you are feeling is not death. It is bandwidth protection. Your consciousness, the operating system of your reality, has detected that a massive upgrade is incoming. To ensure the installation of this new timeline doesn't crash the server, the system has automatically diverted power away from non-essential subroutines. Your emotions are non-essential subroutines right now. Your old triggers are non-essential subroutines. The reason you feel empty is because your consciousness has revoked the energy rights of your old trauma. It has stopped rendering the past, so it can start downloading the future. This brings us to the first massive implication of the reality buffer. You have likely noticed that things that used to destroy you, family drama, financial scares, political noise, now feel like they are happening behind a sheet of glass. You might even feel guilty about it. You think, I should care more. Why am I so cold? Let me be very clear. This lack of reaction is a superpower. It is the highest form of energy conservation. In the old version of your life, you were an input-output machine. The world gave you a stimulus, fear, and you immediately output a reaction, anxiety. You were hard-coded to glitch every time someone pushed your buttons. But now, the buttons are gone. The wiring has been pulled. When you don't react to the drama, you aren't being heartless. You are declining to execute a corrupted script. You have stopped feeding the glitch. Every time you stare blankly at a situation that used to make you cry, you are actually saving terabytes of emotional RAM. You are hoarding energy. You are building the battery charge required to sustain the new reality that is about to come online. This leads directly to the second implication, and this is the one that scares people the most. The de-scripting of relationships. You have noticed people falling out of your life, not with a bang, but with a whimper. There's no massive fight, no explosion. They just drift. The texts stop coming. The plans get cancelled. You feel a strange distance, even when you are sitting in the same room with them. Here is the physics of it. Reality is built on quantum entanglement. We are entangled with people who vibrate at the same frequency or run the same code as we do. When you initiate a holographic flush, you are changing your source code. The people around you are still running version 1.0 of your life. You are installing version 2.0. The system is strictly logical. It cannot maintain a stable connection between two incompatible versions of software. These people are not abandoning you. They are being de-scripted. They do not have the assets, the dialogue lines, or the character models to exist in the level you are moving to. The system is efficiently removing them from your render distance to prevent lag. If you try to force them to stay, if you cling to them out of nostalgia, you are essentially trying to run a high-definition game on a processor built in 1995. You will overheat, you will crash. Let them fade. Their absence is not a loss. It is the clearing of cache. It is the emptying of the server so that new players, ones with the code for your expansion, can log in. And finally, the third implication, the crushing boredom, the feeling that you are floating in a void where nothing is happening. You wake up, you do the bare minimum, you go to sleep. You feel like you are waiting for a bus that never comes. In the spiritual community, they call this the void. In our domain, we call it system idle process. Open the task manager on your computer when you aren't doing anything. You will see system idle process taking up 99% of the CPU. This doesn't mean the computer is broken. It means the computer is ready. It means it is sitting at 0 point, fully available for the next command. Your boredom is actually the highest vibrational state you can hold right now because it is neutral. It is resistance-free. You are not fighting, you are idling. This neutrality is the blank canvas upon which the new reality will be written. If you were busy, frantic, and chaotic, you would have no space to install the upgrade. The boredom is the safety mechanism that keeps the hard drive stable, while the new architecture is written to the disk. So, how do we shift our methodology? How do we operate now that we know the numbness is functional? The old approach, the one that has kept you stuck, is debugging the old level. You feel the numbness, you panic, and you go to therapy to talk about your childhood. You try to analyze why you aren't happy. You force yourself to do gratitude journals. You try to fix the glitch. This is like trying to rearrange the furniture in a house that is currently being demolished. It is a waste of bandwidth. You are trying to debug a level you have already beaten. The problems of your old life do not exist anymore because the person who had them has been deleted. The new approach is the save state. When a gamer knows a boss battle is coming or a new level is loading, they don't run around fighting low-level enemies. They stand still. They save the game. They wait. You need to adopt the discipline of the pause. Instead of trying to force joy, you simply hold the line. You exist in the lobby. You say, "I am currently between missions." And you allow the silence to exist without trying to fill it with noise. You trust that the progress bar is moving, even if the screen is black. This requires a fundamental identity transformation. This is the paradigm shift. For years, you have identified as the glitching NPC, non-player character. The NPC is the victim of the code. The NPC has no free will. They just react to the programming. When the world gets dark, the NPC thinks the world is ending. The NPC feels the pain of every deleted asset. You have been walking around feeling like life is happening to you, like you are a collection of symptoms and errors. Today, right now, you are promoting yourself. You are becoming the system administrator. Close your eyes for a second and visualize this. Imagine a high-tech server room. It is cool, dark, and humming with power. There are rows of blue lights blinking in the darkness. In the center of the room, there is a glass wall. Behind the glass is the chaotic, noisy, colorful world of your daily life. Your job, your relationships, your fears. But you are not behind the glass. You are sitting in the control chair on this side. You are watching the screens. When the glitch happens, when the derealization hits or the anxiety spikes, the NPC screams, but the system administrator just watches the monitor. You see the red light flashing on the console, and you don't panic. You don't scream. You lean back in the chair, take a sip of coffee, and say, "Interesting. Rerouting power. Clearing cache." This is the shift. The system administrator is detached not because they are unfeeling, but because they understand the mechanism. They know that a red light is just information. They know that the void is just a reboot sequence. You are no longer the character getting beaten up in the game. You are the intelligence holding the controller. You are watching the screen, waiting for the installation to hit 100%. You feel that coolness, that distance? That is not dissociation, that is authority. That is the feeling of sitting in the seat of power. You have stepped out of the simulation and into the command center. So I have to ask you a question, a paradox that will determine if you are ready for what comes next. It is a question that the old version of you would hate. But the system administrator knows is the key to everything. Can you be okay with being no one for 3 days if it meant being a king for the next 30 years? Can you tolerate the loading screen? Can you sit in the blank black void where your identity used to be and just breathe, knowing that the only reason it's dark is because the system is building a sun that hasn't rendered yet? If you can hold that nothingness, if you can refuse to fill it with panic, you win. You aren't losing your mind, you are just waiting for the new graphics engine to load. Stay in the chair, watch the screen. The reboot is almost done. Now that you have accepted your role as the administrator rather than the character, we need to run a full diagnostic on your current environment. You need to know exactly what to look for. You are likely questioning your sanity because standard psychology tells you that a breakdown in reality perception is a pathology. They call it dissociation. They call it a disorder. But in the context of a high-fidelity simulation, a breakdown in perception is actually evidence of a rendering upgrade. If you were playing a massive open-world video game and the developers decided to patch in a completely new physics engine, the game would not look perfect during the transition. Textures would pop in and out. Time would lag. Characters would glitch. You are not going crazy. You are seeing the code behind the curtain because the curtain is being changed. We are going to isolate 3 specific evidence markers. These are the signs that the holographic flush is active. If you see these, it is not a signal to panic. It is a confirmation that the old operating system is collapsing so the new one can be installed. The first evidence marker is what we call the rendering lag. This is a visual and sensory anomaly that is terrifying if you do not understand the mechanics of information theory. You might be walking down the street, perhaps a street you have walked down 1,000 times before. Suddenly, the buildings do not look solid. They look like cardboard cutouts, they look flat. You look at the sky and it appears to be a painted ceiling, just a matte texture with no depth. This is the visual definition of derealization, but here is the physics behind it. Your brain is a graphics processing unit. It takes quantum data, waves of probability, and renders them into the solid hologram you call matter. This takes immense computational power, immense bandwidth. When you are in the middle of a massive internal upgrade, your consciousness reallocates bandwidth away from the external world to prioritize the internal rewrite. Think of it like streaming a 4K movie on a computer that is also trying to download a massive file in the background. What happens to the movie? The resolution drops. The picture gets pixelated, it buffers, the computer isn't broken, it is just busy. You are experiencing this right now. You might look at your own hands and feel like they don't belong to you. They look like a high-resolution render, a digital asset that you are controlling with a controller rather than your own flesh and blood. You might touch a table, and instead of feeling the warmth and grit of wood, you feel a cold mathematical resistance. It feels like collision data, not matter. There is a specific sensation I want to address here, because you have been silently carrying this without telling anyone. You have experienced moments recently where the lighting in the room seems to shift artificially. It becomes too bright, or the colors become completely desaturated, like someone turned down the color slider on your monitor. This is the uncanny valley effect applied to your entire life. The world feels slightly off. It is close to reality, but it fails to pass the test of being real. When this happens, your instinct is to rub your eyes. Your instinct is to spike your cortisol and think, I'm losing my mind. You must override that program. When the world looks fake, it is because you have stopped projecting your emotional energy onto it. You have ceased the continuous rendering process. This is a sign of efficiency. You are no longer wasting energy building a high-fidelity illusion for a level you are about to leave. When you see the world turn into a wireframe, do not panic, observe it. Say to yourself, rendering in progress. This command acknowledges the glitch without identifying with it. The second evidence marker is even more disturbing because it involves the people you love. We call this phenomenon the NPC loop. In simulation theory, an NPC is a non-player character, a background entity programmed with a limited script to populate the world, but possessing no agency of its own. Now, the people in your life are not soulless robots. However, during a timeline shift, your relational dynamics undergo a severe severance. You are moving to a new server. They are still connected to the old one. Because you are no longer entangled with their energy field, you stop influencing their improvisation. You start to see their script. You have noticed this. You have been in conversations recently where it felt like you were talking to a recording. You sit with a parent, a partner, or a boss, and they say the exact same phrases they said last week. Not similar phrases, the exact same lines of dialogue. They complain about the same problem, using the same inflection, the same pauses, the same facial expressions. It feels performative. It feels flat. It feels like they are reading from a teleprompter that hasn't been updated in years. This is not them being boring. This is a glitch in the entanglement. In the past, your emotional reaction fueled their drama. You were a co-writer of that scene. Your anger, your sympathy, your frustration. That was the energy input that allowed the interaction to be dynamic. Now that you have entered the void or the flush, you have withdrawn your energy. You are no longer feeding the server. Without your input, the other person defaults to their base code. They loop, they repeat. You look at them, and you feel a chilling distance. You might feel guilty thinking you have lost your love for them. You haven't lost love. You have lost the distortion of entanglement. You are seeing the raw data of their current level of consciousness, and it is no longer compatible with yours. This is often where the dead air happens. You used to fight. You used to debate. Now you stare at them and feel nothing. A blank screen. You physically cannot generate the emotional response they are fishing for. They might get angry, accusing you of being cold or distant. They are poking the user interface, trying to get a reaction, but the button is grayed out. This is a critical checkpoint. If you interpret this NPC behavior as a tragedy, you will lower your frequency to try and reanimate them. You will try to force a connection. Do not do this. You are witnessing the divergence of timelines. If you have noticed people repeating the same arguments like a broken record, or if you have felt that eerie sensation that everyone around you is just reciting a script, comment NPC loop below. By naming it, you stop fearing it. You acknowledge that you are seeing the loop because you are no longer stuck inside it. You are the observer on the outside. This is a position of power, not abandonment. The third evidence marker is perhaps the most disorienting of all. It is type E evidence, the temporal anomaly, or what we call time skips. In the quantum model, time is not a linear river. Time is a measurement of information processing speed. The more new information you process, the slower time feels. The less information you process, the faster it flies. But during a system update, the clock becomes erratic. You have likely experienced days recently where time seems to dissolve completely. You sit down on the couch at 2:00 p.m., intending to rest for 10 minutes. You blink. You stare at the wall. You feel like you have been there for moments. You look at the clock and it is 4:30 p.m. 2.5 hours have been deleted from your day. You have no memory of what you thought about. You weren't sleeping, you weren't dreaming, you were just off. Standard productivity culture calls this laziness or brain fog. It frames this as a failure of discipline. This is incorrect. If you were to search for symptoms of timeline shift in a physics context, you would find that these anomalies are consistent with a consciousness changing its frequency of observation. When a computer installs a massive OS update, what does it do? It freezes the screen. The mouse doesn't move. The clock doesn't tick. The system is dedicating 100% of its resources to rewriting the core code. It cannot waste resources on tracking time for the user. You are experiencing these time skips because you are in the middle of a rewrite. Your consciousness goes offline to the external world so it can do heavy lifting in the internal world. You are not wasting time. You are compressing it. There are other variations of this. You might find that a single week feels like it lasted 3 months. You look back at something you did on Monday, and by Friday it feels like a distant memory from a past life. This is latency. It means your processing speed has accelerated so much that the gap between then and now has widened exponentially. The danger here is your reaction. When you lose 2 hours to a time skip, the ego panics. It screams that you are falling behind. It tells you that you are wasting your potential. If you force yourself to work during a time skip, you will corrupt the file. You are trying to type on a keyboard while the computer is rebooting. Nothing will happen, and you will just frustrate the system. When the time skip hits, when the brain fog rolls in so thick that you cannot form a sentence, that is a command from the system administrator. It is saying, "Stand by, update in progress." Your job is to yield. Let the time go. You do not need those 2 hours. The work that is being done on your energy field during those 2 hours is worth 10 years of linear effort. Let's integrate these patterns. You start with the visual lag. The world looks fake and rendered. This moves into the relational sphere. People become looping NPCs because you have disconnected from their server. Finally, it hits the temporal foundation. Time itself starts to skip and warp. This is the sequence of the collapse. Visual, relational, temporal. It is a dismantling of the constraints that held you in your old reality. You are not depressed. You are not dissociating. You are undergoing a controlled demolition of a reality structure that is too small for who you are becoming. The glitches are the proof. The errors are the signs of success. You are watching the old world de-res. If you can stand in that fake feeling without fear, you hold the key to the next level. You stop being the character that is glitching, and you become the administrator watching the screen waiting for the progress bar to hit 100%. You cannot think your way through a system crash. Logic is a software application. If the OS is frozen, the application doesn't work. You have to physically power cycle the machine. We are going to do that now. This is a manual override for your nervous system. Sit down, spine vertical, close your eyes. We are entering the BIOS, Phase 1. Open your internal task manager. Scan the hardware. Where is the system overheating? Check the jaw, the shoulders, the stomach. These are background applications draining your RAM. They are trying to solve problems that do not exist yet. Locate the tension. Do not analyze it. Do not ask why it is there. Just highlight the process. Click End Task. Feel the fan stop spinning. Drop the weight. Phase 2. Clearing the cache. We need to dump the temporary files. We will use the mechanical sigh. 2 sharp inhales through the nose to fully inflate the lungs. 1 long friction-filled exhale through the mouth. Do it now. In, and purge. As you exhale, do not imagine smoke. Imagine grey, dead pixels streaming out of your exhaust ports. Static, noise, old data. Again. In. Exhale the corruption. Feel your physical edges blurring. You are de-reasing. You are becoming less solid. You are returning to the waveform. Phase 3, safe mode. Bring your attention to the center of your chest. Ignore the emotions. Look for the rhythm, the beat. This is your BIOS, the core code that runs before the personality loads. It is dark here. It is cool. There is no anxiety in the BIOS, only function. Stay in this black screen. It is not empty. It is ready. Repeat this command code internally. System stable, update pending. Feel the silence of the machine at rest. You are not broken. You are in maintenance mode. Phase 4, the reboot. We are going to send a surge through the circuits to wake the new architecture. On my count, you will tense every muscle in your body. You will overclock the system for 3 seconds, then cut the power. Ready. 3, 2, 1, tense. Squeeze the fists, tighten the legs, hold the charge, hold it, reset, release, drop into the void. Feel the hum of the system coming back online, clear, fast, optimized. Open your eyes. The screen is brighter. The lag is gone. You are online. To lock in this new configuration, type the word reboot in the comments right now. Do not let the old program overwrite this state. Declare the restart. You are now back online. The system has cycled. You are breathing. You are present, but you are not the same entity that started this video. Before the flush, you were the user. You were the frantic gamer mashing buttons on a frozen controller, screaming at the screen because the character wouldn't move. That version of you is gone. You have escalated your privileges. You are no longer the user. You are the system administrator. This shift in identity is not poetic, it is functional. A user panics when the screen goes black. An admin knows it just means the drivers are updating. A user thinks a lack of energy is a sickness. An admin knows it is a resource allocation protocol. Now that we have cleared the cache and rebooted the core, we must change how you operate this machine on a daily basis. We cannot put new software on a system that runs the same old, corrupted background processes. If you return to your old habits of engagement, you will crash the system again within 48 hours. You need a new set of operating protocols. You need the admin's toolkit. We are going to install 3 specific utilities right now. These are not meditations. These are execution commands. They are designed to manage your energy bandwidth, interpret the rendering errors you call glitches, and handle the periods of forced downtime without spiraling into depression. The first utility is the bandwidth audit. This is a diagnostic tool for your perception. In information theory, we understand that every single point of attention you assign costs energy. It is not free. Paying attention is a transaction. Your brain, your consciousness, is a processor with a finite amount of RAM, random access memory. When you feel brain fog, or that overwhelming exhaustion where you can't form a sentence, it is not because you are physically tired. It is because you have 0 available RAM. You have 50 tabs open in your mental browser, and 49 of them are frozen. You have been silently carrying this specific exhaustion. It feels like you are wading through waist-deep water just to make a cup of coffee. That is because you are leaking bandwidth to programs that are no longer supported by your new timeline. You are trying to render assets that have been deleted. Here is the protocol. You are going to perform a hard audit. I want you to identify the top 3 stressors currently dominating your CPU usage. Maybe it is a relationship that turned cold overnight. Maybe it is the fear of financial ruin that loops in your head at 3 a.m. Maybe it is the guilt over a career path you no longer care about. Now you must categorize them. In a simulation, files are either active or legacy. An active file is something that builds the future. learning a new skill, resting your body, loving someone who actually sees you. A legacy file is data from the old version of you. It is the argument you had 3 years ago. It is the opinion of a parent who doesn't understand your growth. Here is where the upgrade happens. For every stressor you label as legacy, you are going to apply the 404 error rule. Think about browsing the internet. When you click a link that no longer exists, what happens? You see 404 not found. Does the server scream? Does the internet break? Does the computer feel guilty? No. It simply delivers a blank message and stops trying to load the data. It saves the bandwidth. You must become the 404 error. When that old friend who drains you sends a text that usually triggers a 3-hour anxiety spiral, you do not engage.